Welcome to More Business, More Life podcast. And today I'm super excited because I have Tyler Rivenbark here to be a part of this podcast. And we are going to explore our choices in our life. Are you fully choosing your life for your well-being? And then how do we go about that? If you don't even know how to do it, we're going to explore that. If you don't know, if you're afraid of making those full choices, we're going to talk about that. But we're going to showcase how Tyler has chosen what he wanted in life, and then allow the abundance of his businesses, which he has more than one, which we'll also talk about. And he's able to run multiple small businesses, wells like snowboarding almost every day of his life, and having that, well, when there's snow. And then if it's not snow, he's out doing something else in the summertime. But this guy is living his life fully every day and still being able to bring greatness in his work, his craft. And so we want to explore that. How do we do that? And if you want to know, let's keep listening. Here we go. Let's jump into the podcast. Thanks so much, Tyler, for being on the show.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to see you and connect with you, whether it's on the show or in real life.
Yeah, well, it is real life, right? But I know what you mean in person, right? So we could give each other a big hug. But
Yeah.
we are we're in whatever reality that we're in right now for ourselves. And you're I know it's awesome. I know for those of you that are listening, Tyler's sitting in front of his big old fireplace, and you're up in the mountains, right? Like outside of Tahoe.
Yeah, I'm in the Tahoe area. Love it here so much, and spend a lot of time here. And now I call it home, and I feel grateful to call it home.
Beautiful. And I know we'll probably cover that because you know, when I think of you, you're such a, I guess in some way, an outdoors, and, you know, like get it, just being outdoors, you know, like whenever I'm with Tyler, we end up playing basketball or doing something active. I don't, you know, it's rare to see Tyler sit still too much or too long. Has that always been your way, like your whole life, just being so active?
Yeah, it feels really good for me to be in my body, and helps me be a lot more clear, not think so much, because we can get lost in the mind, and really the heart and our body makes our mind so much more effective. And yeah, I've been blessed to have parents that really appreciate and respect the environment. I think it was like when I was born, this is a cool story. When I was born, my parents essentially took me from the hospital and then took me to the beach. So I was born in Portland, Oregon. The beach is about, an hour and a half away. And so I was born, they took me to the beach and put me in this little basket, they could close it so I was protected from the sun, or open it up. And I was just sleeping there. And there's this really special spot in a beach called Short Sands. And so they would take turns going in the ocean and watching me and caring for me. And my dad surfs and my mom boogie boards. So ever since then, it was, on with the adventures. And it's like, this earth is so beautiful, and there's so much happiness that we can experience once we get grounded in nature,
That's so beautiful. And it's you're right. What a thing to be grateful for, because I don't think, there's a lot of other families that wouldn't have that experience, which that is just so amazing. And I think, that's a big part of more business, more life is choices. And even right there, your parents made a choice to expose you to that environment from virtually day one of your life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel really grateful and blessed to be put into some incredible environments that I could just naturally learn since I was a kid. So a lot of outdoor adventures with my parents. My dad is very creative maker, builds homes and, staircases and kind of custom stuff. And my mom runs an art gallery. So I was essentially put into these wonderful environments since I was a kid, where I could, start drawing in an art gallery and meet all these artists and learn about how they see creativity and how they see the world, and see all these different paradigms since I was a kid. So I feel really grateful for that.
That's so beautiful. And there's so many places. Like, I've never had a conversation that didn't get me excited when I'm talking with you, Tyler. And there's so many places that we could explore, and it's probably going to have to be multiple podcasts, episodes. But for our starters, one thing that attracts me, that I'm curious about in this conversation, is where we can start to see the expression of choice. Because when I talk about more business, more life with, the folks listening and people that have come to my workshops and courses and programs, it really does come down to choice. Because ultimately, and what we're choosing for. Because a lot of folks I meet, they go to work to make money so that at some point they can have their life. And a big part of more business, more life is bringing the idea that, hey, actually, what is that thing that you would like? And then let's say, is that the best way to get there? Is the best way to get there to work until you're in your 60s or 70s and then go on adventures? And then, as you know, every decade, our body changes. The adventures that we're going to want to go on will change. And so now, by the time you're 60s and 70s, there's adventures that you're probably not going to do that you would have done in your 20s or in your 30s. So the whole idea is choosing that expression. So I guess what I'm most curious about is, a lot of it, the word, when I was thinking about this before we got on this podcast, is like, I think, and you've seen this in a lot of folks, and I do too, that, fear, and it's either an or an and, fear and what others tell us to believe, right? That, oh, I have to go work. So it's either I have to go work because that's what everyone does, and then I'll have this retirement, or I'm just afraid. I see people like Tyler living all over the world, doing all these things, and then they still have enough money to have to live and have a roof over their head and eat good organic food and all these things. So I guess my first question is, was that just always in you, or did you notice a certain point in your life where you chose, hey, I'm going to live my life and I know I'll always find the resources to live this life? Like, was there ever a thought in your mind like, oh, maybe I need to go make money so then I can have something? Or was that not even on your menu because of the way you were raised?
Well, for me, it's like choice is one of the central parts of our life, and it's like continuing to activate and learn about our choices is one of the best places we can receive education, right? About ourselves and how we can take responsibility for our lives. And that's a lot of the work that I do and you do as well. And it's been an evolution my whole life. So it's like, obviously there's like cultural limiting beliefs, and then there's family limiting beliefs. And at certain ages, those start to come up for revision, and you start to have people in your life who help you kind of shine a mirror on how you can activate your choice and author your life more. So, it's been a continued progress for me to learn about how to choose my life, and also just like go for it, be okay with making mistakes or not having the exact outcome that I'm hoping for, And I remember one thing that was a giant blessing in my life is growing up with this incredible Mexican family, the Duartes. And William was this like incredible healer, acupuncturist, chiropractor, Chinese medicine, all these different skills. And so I'd go to the doctor, but I'd also see him, and he would give me acupuncture. And when I was a kid, he would like teach me stuff, and he was a great mentor for me. And I remember he'd put these like big needles in me and like, stimulate the chi, and I would jump off the table, and he'd always look at me and he's like, anything's possible. And I would argue with him, what do you mean anything's possible? What if I just fly away right now like an eagle or something. And he would just respond, anything's possible, and the more that I trust my choice, the more my heart expands, the more I let the unknown be okay, the more I realize anything is possible. And so it's like choice is like the best education you can get, beat Stanford, Harvard, Yale, whatever education you think is the best. Like if you're learning about your choice, that's where you're going to be learning, the most. And so for me, it's like, I'm not sure if there's been any moments. I mean, there have been big moments of kind of expanding my choice, but it's a lifelong thing. It's not like you start anywhere or get anywhere. It's like no one's anywhere. We're all living our life together, doing our very best and learning how we can create more happiness and love. So, it's like there's definitely been moments. I started off going to art school in Montessori, and then I went to, Catholic school, which was like the Catholic school container is very much, rigid, and they have very certain, belief systems that they try to impose on you, which is all good. And then you learn about how society and culture and family can block people's ability to choose, so for everybody, it's kind of learning where they've been able to really, reach and land what they're choosing for. And then also some of the other, blockers that people can still heal up.
Right. And I'm with you. Our life is all about choosing, and you and I have a mutual teacher in our life, Carl Buchheit, and I part of my tagline, choose gratitude, create freedom, comes from that work, because
So
his idea is choose what you want, then take what you get, and he means that quite literally.
Yeah.
And then choose again. And a lot of folks, we stifle our life or slow it down because we choose something, it doesn't come exactly the way we wanted it, so then we push it away, and then that or not accept it. That's the taking part, and that's where the growth and learning.
Yeah.
And actually, like to your point, the more choices we make, the more we can learn, right? So if you choose, learn from what happened from that choice, and then it was either good, so choose it again, or it wasn't the way we wanted it, so let's not choose that, let's choose something different. Then we can actually propel. And I find it's in making more choices that we more quickly learn. And so I'm totally with you that this is a life learning, ability. And I guess maybe just to paint the picture, and then we'll come back, because I feel like we're going to come circle to this. One of the big reasons that I so wanted you to be on the show is because you are what I would call more business and more life, in the fact that you're choosing your life, and then you're allowing the abundance to come. And we use that word allowing because you're finding where it's meant to come through your life's work, like your genius. We all have the things that we're really good at, and even that gets forsaken sometimes. People just get a job to get that paycheck, and the thing that they're the genius at is in the closet waiting for the weekend, or if at all. And then after life goes by and you get tired, then you don't even do that hobby on the weekend anymore, and then it just fades away. So I guess I'm curious, for those listening, because I think you and I both know there are many people that are not living in that way, right? They're making choices based on other people or their own fears. Well, let's start back what I was thinking first. How paint this picture? Like, so how do you choose your life? Like, because I know you choose different adventures, or you'll spend the day snowboarding, and then you're also building, a couple different businesses, and you're helping people. So how have you integrated that, so that you can have the life that you want while you're building these income sources, so that you can not only feed yourself, but also help others more?
Yes, so beautiful. Yeah. And, one thing to say is like, we're all so human, and just like really being grateful for all of our humanity, all of our feelings and mistakes, and just being in appreciation of all that helps a lot, because everybody's making mistakes and learning from them. And the choose what you want, take what you get, choose again is so important. It's because a lot of people get paralyzed by fear because they feel like they can't choose again, or it's not going to be perfect or whatever. But the more you can receive even 10% of what you want, the better it's going to feel. And the more it's going to amplify the next choice. And also there's like timelines and timing and stuff. Maybe what you're choosing is still a year off or 6 months off. But if you can receive a portion of that, that's so important. And really grateful for, our mutual teachers, how they have helped us just, in a place, come to a place of radical acceptance, and when you just kind of accept everything as it is, there isn't so much resistance. There isn't, so much defensiveness about things being perfect or someone being this way or that way. And Michelle, one of our teachers, she tells a story of her living in New York and barely having enough money to get by, like, going to work, going to sleep, going to work. And there's just one time when a friend invited her to dinner, and she was really scared to say yes because she couldn't afford it, and she went to dinner hoping that the person would pay for dinner, and they didn't. And she's like in this moment of like, I'm going to fully choose this. I want to go out and treat myself to one enjoyable night, right? And by trusting her choice and trusting going for what she wanted, the money started coming in. So sometimes, things work out in a quantum way. Sometimes the money comes before what you want, or sometimes the experience you want comes before and then the money comes. So there's a big part of like trusting yourself, knowing that, no matter what happens, you're going to be safe. If you say, hey, I want to go on this adventure, and you're not sure, how all the money for the bills is going to come through, maybe that adventure actually fills you up, resolves something, brings something new into your life. So then you can have more financial fuel for your choice. So for me, it's like bringing in a sense of safety, some of the feelings that are really going to allow you to pay attention to your life. And then you won't be distracted, and you'll be able to, expand yourself, because when you move into the new version of yourself, it's always unknown. There's always surfing the unknown, and that can be incredibly scary. But the more we can feel safe in not knowing, the more we can pay attention to the signs and the opportunities. And a lot of my life has been like that. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I'm going to hold an attention. I'm going to explore. I'm going to pay attention. And that paying attention allows me to see what the next thing is.
I think that's the key. It's the paying attention, and you could pay attention to a lot of things. We can gravitate towards the like negative things that are happening and the positive, and that's where, coming back to that choose gratitude, that's what changed it. When I choose something and I take what I get and I can find the gratitude, like you said, whether it's the 10%, maybe I didn't get all what I wanted, but there was part of it and I could be grateful for that. That gratitude propelled me into the next choice, versus saying that wasn't what I wanted and being down and I didn't get, and including like losing everything. Like there's times in my business life, like in my 20s, I lost over $4 million. It was miserable. And it took me until my 30s to realize how grateful I was for all those lessons. And it was meant to happen so that I could be the man that's standing here before you right now. While you were telling that, it reminded me of the story from The Alchemist. Have you ever read that book? Yeah. So remember when he like sells all of his sheep, and it's like all of his money, and then he travels to Africa because he's going to go on this journey to the pyramids. And the first day that he gets to Africa, someone steals all his money, and so now he's in a different country. He didn't speak the language, and he's broke. And then like the next day, he met the crystal merchant, And then he was able to end up finding that, and he like tripled his net worth from this new experience. So like a tremendous loss turned into the biggest opportunity in his life.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful story. And, you know, those are the moments that sometimes, you know, activate some of our biggest skills, you know. When, you know, learning Spanish, you know, I say, yo hablo español, pero yo hablo como un niño, meaning I speak Spanish, but I speak like a little kid, you know. And really the way that I've learned as much Spanish as I have is by putting myself in situations where I can only survive if I speak Spanish, you know? And so sometimes we get into those moments that challenge us, that actually activate skill sets in us, you know? And so a lot of my work is designing around flow states, you know, when you're in the zone, when you're feeling your best, you're performing your best, all of your skills are in the present moment, right? And so part of that is stepping out of your comfort zone, you know, doing something a little bit maybe scary, you know, that you haven't done before. And so in that, I think, you know, fear can actually be comfortable for some people. You know, the pain and suffering that some people live in can be tremendously enjoyable for them. And so once we kind of step out of that and be like, wait a minute, what do I want? I want to feel happy, you know, and I want to have more choice in my life, and start, you know, little by little, chunk by chunk, stepping into more of what we actually want, which is the love and the happiness and the enjoyment of life, makes those skills come online, you know. And then you see, you know, someone like you, Steve, who's just like so happy, beautiful family, doing what he loves, and it's because you've been able to choose to dive deeper into your choice and your healing and your heart, you know, and say, wait a minute, what is it that I actually want, you know? Oh yeah, this is what I want, you know.
It's so important to say exactly that. What is it that I want? Because we think what I felt, and I think the reason I had to lose so much in my 20s was because I was ignoring all the signs. And so I think sometimes life taps you, and then it slaps you. And I needed that slap, and I needed it because I wasn't, you know, because what happened in what you just said, and just to hit it, and then I'll come to a question here, is that I was not making in the choices. When you come to that, I chose one path, and then that path wasn't the best path for me. And then instead of noticing that, even though there was many signs, I was in that no pain, no gain. And this is where thoughts from others came in. I was letting other people's beliefs that had a strong influence on me at a young age come into play. And it was like, no, it has to be hard. It has to hurt. I must be on the right path. And even though this doesn't feel right and I don't feel good about it, I'm just going to keep going. And that perseverance allowed it to go longer than it could have. Now, for me, that was the experience I needed. I needed that. But what I also express is this is a story. And now part of that story for me has been to help other people to have what they want with less pain, to not go through that. And so I think that comes back to this whole conversation of choice. Now I've learned when I go down that road and it's not feeling good, that I do have a choice to still go where I want to go, but choose a different road. Maybe it's not even a road. Maybe it's a boat. Maybe I need to be in a plane. Maybe I need to be on a bike. You know, I don't know. But that's where, like, am I trying those things out? So that comes full circle to this choice. So, you know, the sticking to this whole idea of choice, and I think you are a man that fully, and I know you're still learning and I'm still learning, but the idea is that you're choosing. So can you maybe give a snapshot and I don't know if it's like a snapshot of your day or of your week or of your month, but you know, it's impressive. Like, you really choose life, and then you let everything that you need come about, and you have this trust in the world that is amazing. and it has served you, and you're trusting those like whatever you want to call it, like in The Alchemist they call it omens or signs, but you're letting some universal truth come to you to guide you. But can you give a snapshot of how you choose life, just so people can see what this looks like?
Yeah, definitely. Well, one beautiful thing you were talking about, like your life and your kind of history, and what you were describing is kind of that thing of choose what you want, take what you get.
Yeah.
So it's like you got some of what you wanted, but then you started choosing more, and it refined, and I think paying attention for me is a big thing, and it's like some people have to learn through pain and suffering because it's the only way they get their attention. But you can learn through joy and love and happiness, and then allow all the human feelings. You just got to pay attention, right? So a big thing for me is just doing my best to pay attention. And waking up, I think, is waking up and going to sleep are two big parts of my day, right? So it's like the waking up part and that entry into the day kind of can trigger the dominoes, right, for the flow. And for me, some type of stillness, looking at the mountains, breathing, feeling grateful, getting some exercise. And before this call, I try to get at least an hour on the mountain as many days as possible. So I just came back from snowboarding about an hour and a half before this call. And for me, that movement allows me to really clear my head. And what I've experienced for myself is you can have all these feelings, you can have all these thoughts, things are this way, that way. But if you get into one moment of flow, one moment of stillness, you can really cleanse all that away. So you get into a moment in flow and you're like, wait, what was I thinking about? What was I feeling? It didn't even matter, and then recenter back onto your choice. And so I try to create as many practices that bring some relief to me. I could be all stressed out. Something could not be going the way that I want. And then I say to myself, how can I experience a little bit of relief, a little bit of flow to really bring back the resource of my choice? And, everybody's going through life where you're feeling connected and then disconnected. And it's about getting connected again as soon as possible, so you can really choose again. And, everybody has cycles and patterns, and some of the cycles we want to heal up, the more that we can just move through it quicker, be in acceptance of it. Be like, oh, I got off my game there. Okay. I'm going to, say, okay, and get right back on my game. So when I wake up, I think a big part of my practice is finding some type of connection. And then also the night before, if I kind of have a vision of some of the key pillars of my day, it allows me to think a lot less. And so the more I'm thinking, the harder it is for me to navigate my day. The more I can, let go of the mind, the easier it is for me to go into flow, and not evaluate or judge things, and just trust what I'm doing is the right way. I've been blessed. I've pretty much, 3 master's degrees. One of them was a MBA in strategic foresight, and I got to work with all these people all over the world and things of that nature. And it really taught me, before remote work was, the thing to do, how to be remote, right? So I've set up a lot of the way that I work with people in a remote way, so I can be doing a hike or snowboarding, and I can be responding to emails or take a break, have a short call, and still be in my flow, and then offering service. So it's like designing your life around the things that are giving you that connection, and then that well-being is the way to provide the service. If you're not in a place of well-being, it's hard to help people. And so it's like, for me, it's like my well-being is service and has to be a big part of each of my day. in order to actually help people. Because sometimes I'm working with clients who are dealing with deep traumas and deep things. And in order to help them with that, I need to have some love in my heart, you know? So the big thing for me is finding and evolving my practices that create some type of connection.
Yeah, that's huge. And connection is such a big word in what you just said. Just even saying that, you know, connection to others, connection to self, connection to your physical body, connection to your mind and heart, connecting all those things and what you just said. I just want to point that out. There's so many things to point out in what you just said. And I love how you started with going to sleep and waking up and how you live your life. And it comes to that glass full or not. Like, you know, how do you quench someone's thirst if there's no water? You know, and so you're creating your own abundance in your well-being by taking care of you, how you put yourself into rest states, flow states, how you wake up, find stillness. And I love what you said too, just like moving in your body. So many people think of exercise or I need to get up and work out. And that didn't even come out of your mouth. But in that way, you are physically using this body that you have to activate those things and get into flow states, almost like a meditation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's the paying attention. You know, I played college sports, and I used to be into all types of really intense physical training. I'd wake up at 5, go to 6 a.m. CrossFit, and just kick my butt before 7 a.m. You know, and I really liked that. And then, you know, COVID happened and the gyms closed down and you couldn't go to CrossFit. And then I was starting to think about, you know, what's a more enjoyable way for me to inhabit my body, to express my athleticism. So I started, you know, finding ways that I can enjoy flow that feels better for my body, like the slack line, or I started learning how to spin fire, or, you know, dancing. And now there's like all these new options. I still like to lift weights. I still like to do that. It's just not available now. And so, you know, there's an enjoyment to it. There's an enjoyment that you can naturally drop in versus like slam a cup of coffee and force yourself into that space, which is like all good and fine, and that works too. It's just my practice has been evolving. What feels better? What do I enjoy more? And the connection piece is like it for me. It's like it's a feeling, right? It's kind of a spacious feeling, and then when you're in the moment, it's like connecting to, you know, Steve here in the podcast, or connecting with my wife, or connecting with the mountains, or whatever that is. It's like the feeling of connection is what I'm cultivating. And then the thing to connect to or whatever shows up. But I feel everybody listening can really resonate with how it feels to feel a little bit of space, you know, and feel a little bit of connection, and then start to apply that energy to whatever they're being present with.
I think that's key. And I want to actually break that down into maybe a, not necessarily a smaller chunk, but just to kind of make it awareness. And I think that this awareness is so important. And then I also want to talk about the movement. First, on the awareness, like one thing I often say is when I see someone's overworked, like let's say, you know, I've worked with CEOs and they have like this massive to-do list. They have so much to do and they're overwhelmed. They're not sure to schedule it. They laugh at me because I say, let's take a break. Yeah, go for a walk. You got to get the heck out of there. Even sometimes I recommend a vacation. And they're like, I hired you to fix this problem. I need to get all this done. I'm like, I know, we will, but you got to leave this space right now, because any decision you're making is, you know, in some cases where they absolutely need a break, because it goes back to they're out of flow. They haven't gave any rest. And part of our self is to have that, that relaxation and come back with new thinking so that they can make better decisions.
Yeah.
And so that comes back to that word of paying attention and awareness, because when we're in that depleted state, our awareness gets depleted as well, and in a big way. So then we don't have that awareness. I think is key what you're saying. And then the second part, and I want to explore this more, and I kind of want to get to some things that people can take away from this, because there are many people, they don't know, maybe even know where to start. Like some of the things we're talking about could seem so radical, right? Because to others that have never done some of these things. When I love that you say, like you're just moving your body. It's not necessarily a workout. It can be if you love that. And I do too. I still lift weights sometimes, but I found so many other ways to move my body.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, because I think there's a stigmatism of like, oh, you need to go work out, and that means going and running on a treadmill for 20 minutes or an hour or whatever it is. So I guess I'm curious on like, I want to talk more about movement, but I'm also curious on like which way this takes you with this question. But where are the starting points? Let's say someone has not made these radical, maybe this seems so radical to them. But this is right in line with this show, because it's all about choosing your life, designing your life, and then building it around. Just like you were saying, you've designed it and you and I've had calls. You've been on a hike, and then you're having a FaceTime call with me and you're like, hey, the time of our call, I wasn't quite done with my hike. So here we are, and then I get to see this beautiful environment, and we still get to have our call, and it caused no delay in our conversation, so I know that, like I just said a lot, and this is the thing about the conversations with you and I, Tyler. There's so many layers, and hopefully people are getting some of these layers here as you're listening to this. But where do you suggest people start? And I know it might be different for each person because they have a different experience, and I get that. But are there some common ground or some starting points that people can start making these choices with, either their movement or their choices on what they're doing on a day-to-day basis? Where do you usually start with someone that's never thought to do this?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things is keeping it simple. The more simplicity we can bring into it, the more, it tells us we're in our heart. And so one of the biggest things that I do is just before a call, I'll just take some breaths. I'll just, 3 deep breaths. And one thing I do with my breath is I kind of call something in, like bring in some spaciousness, let go of the past, bring in some, love in my heart, let go of tension. And it's as simple as that. If we feel spacious, we can start to receive. If we feel tense, we're essentially putting armor over our heart and being as a way to protect ourselves. And so if we're not able to receive, we're not able to bring in the new. It's just going to be the old patterns. And so, some deep breaths is like always just feels so good for me. 3 deep breaths, or even doing some Wim Hof, 4 minutes of breath can completely shift how you feel,
Oh my gosh.
And one thing I talk to a lot of clients about is like one moment of a better feeling can change everything. You can be in a feeling state for 10 years, and then all of a sudden you have a different feeling and you get some relief and you have a better perspective about things. And so breath can help with that. Another thing that is big for me is radical acceptance, which I feel everybody can start to bring more of their life and focus into some more acceptance. And that means accepting everything, accepting how a politician is, or accepting if you maybe made a mistake, or there's some big resistance and judgment that came up that hasn't been in your life for a while. Instead of judging it and resisting it more, just saying okay to it and accepting it. And so breath and acceptance to me are some of the biggest keys to unlock some better feelings for people.
That's huge. And if you haven't tried what Tyler's talking about, taking 3 breaths, or if you take 10 deep breaths, which would only take you a couple minutes,
Yeah.
if you're holding your breath in between each breath, then it takes a couple minutes. But but slowing down that breath, it changes your state. I can't tell how many people I've said, "Oh, let's just do that." Just giving permission to take a breath. Sometimes I've felt the tension on a call, and I'm like, "Oh, I gave permission for us. Let's just take a breath here." And then the whole call was in a different state, like you're saying. So I want to basically reinforce what you're saying about that. It's one moment that can change. And that's why I'm such a fan of micro breaks. I always say, if you want to get more done, because a lot of times when I'm working with executives and everything, these are high performing people, they're doing a lot. So I would say, if you want to get more done, take more breaks, because you're getting more resets through the day. And then it lifts the awareness and all the things that that you've been talking about so well here, Tyler.
Yeah.
It's it's so amazing. So I think, just starting with those breaths, and then how do you parlay that into your choice of life? Because I think money, for a lot of people, and around the world, it happens, but it definitely happens in the United States of America. Like, we get this, and it starts from childhood, right? Like, everyone's like, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" And it's like, "Are you going to be?" And even like, I don't know if it still happens, but I think we're semi close in age. But people would say, when you're growing up, your elders would say, "Oh, are you going to be a doctor, or this or that?" They look for those high paying professions. And even, talking about art, there are people that say, "Oh, you'll be a starving artist," but we know there's like, million and $billion artists.
Yeah.
There are people that have made, Star Wars, and they created tons of wealth from a film, like, so I guess, how do you advise folks in the way that you choose your life? Because, is there a simple way that you put it with your clients, how you, I guess, again, coming back to that starting point, if someone's out there listening and they're grinding out, maybe they're in the work that they're supposed to do, but they might be doing it in a way that's hurting them, and that doesn't have to be that way. Or maybe they're in the wrong work altogether, because of other decisions. How do you advise, or what ideas do you have, so that you could start choosing for your life force, for the good of your well-being, as you put it?
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And yeah, choosing for your well-being is so important for yourself and everybody. And I work a lot with a lot of people around money and love and relationship, because those are two of the biggest areas people project their pains and traumas onto, and kind of get into some unconscious patterns. And kind of going back on the last thing we were talking about, one of the biggest unlocking moves for people is to feel their feelings. And what do I mean by that? You're in a high stakes moment, right? Maybe it's like poker or a business deal. Someone's trying to like read you or whatever, when you can take a breath and feel your feelings, that wave of emotion washes over and moves out. And when people don't feel their feelings, they block the wave of emotion, and then they act from a place that's not resourced. That's an old pattern or program. So when you can just like take a moment to feel your feelings, it washes over. 30 seconds later, the feeling is complete. And then you can come back into a place of choice, and you can really move into the expression of your gifts. And so when it comes to, money and love, it's like really starting to pay attention to what is your experience, and start to notice your experience as a reflection of you, your beliefs, your identity, your choices, and start to look at your beliefs and identity more as a choice, more as opinions. And then you can start to have some spaciousness about how you want to author it differently. And so, all kinds of people have moved into, maybe jobs or experiences they don't like. And the first thing I say to everybody everything can be different for you, you know, and it can be one little shift, you know. Somebody could be in a career and they're like, I hate it, I need to get out of it, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wait a minute, let's just change the feelings around it for a little bit. And they start to feel different about it. And then they start to spark the passion of why they started doing it. And then maybe there's a clear choice of something new, and you can move into that something new with more grace rather than blowing everything up. And now you're in this even crazier state. So feeling all your feelings, breathing, creating some acceptance, and then really finding the better feeling to allow yourself some actual choice in that moment is really helpful. And I remember, when I was younger, I was trying to like know everything and journal about everything. And I kind of realized that, you know, what I'm integrating naturally is the thing. Like, how can I just download it so it's my identity, so it's natural, so I don't have to think about it all the time. And I was talking to this guy about music, and music is something I'm still learning to express myself through. And it's really fun to learn to express yourself more through different avenues. And he was telling me about the air pockets in our body and how our voice comes out and how we, you know, play the flute and the didgeridoo and the saxophone. And I was like trying to scribble all this stuff down. And he pauses me and he says, hey, you don't need to remember any of this. All you have to do is find a key, something you enjoy, pick up the flute, pick up the didgeridoo, and you'll naturally unlock all of this information. You'll really learn it from a deeper place where you don't have to think about it. And so when we start to bring the unconscious to a conscious place and have choice around it, it starts with a little bit of spaciousness, a little bit of paying attention, some breath, some acceptance, and allowing yourself to feel the feelings and look at your whole life without judgment. You know, just saying, okay, this is me doing the best I can, and I want to do something different. So whether you're wanting to enjoy your current craft more or jump into a new craft, the more you can be paying attention, present to it, feeling your feelings, and really presupposing that your worth and validation is, you know, undeniable. It's so undeniable that there's zero importance around it. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to prove it. Any way that you're trying to prove that you're worthy or valid, let that go, you know, and just start to feel your sense of validation. And the sense of what you want is naturally worthy. And so once you can really embody that, where you walk into a room and someone says, you know, a comment about how you're dressed, and you just completely decline to perceive it because you just have a sense of worthiness, you then allow yourself to move in a more spacious place with your choice, rather than sinking into these unconscious patterns that you might have been living your whole life, you know?
Which then it comes from others, or those armor that you brought up earlier, to let go of all those things where I was trying to protect myself or prove myself, and let all that go and just be Steve. And I was always there. I didn't have to become any one thing or become better. It was just allowing myself to be myself. That it was a key thing. I just want to echo off what you're sharing. And then I think when you were saying all that, I wanted to add a word, kindness. Like, and you know, I find, be kind to yourself. And you were saying this, I'm just echoing because I think this will reinforce what you're saying, because it's beautiful. And even slowing down for a moment so everyone can absorb this is, you know, I think that's another thing that you kind of alluded to, but I want to put even more light on it. As we get older, people, and I even have had this illusion sometimes, I'm like, oh, I'm older, I should be able to do this, you know, but it's new. And then we forget what learning is like, and that you have to, do something, and it's not necessarily going to be whatever quote unquote right is, or it's not going to be the way we want it because we're trying it out. You could talk about riding a bike all day long for months, but until you actually get on the bike and try to feel, going back to feelings, what balance is and all of those things, it's, I've never heard of anyone that did all the research about riding a bike as much as you could, hopped on a bike and rode the first time they touched the pedal. Like, I don't know anyone. And if somebody's done that, I think Tyler and I would both be interested in meeting that person. But most of us are going to like fall down or almost fall down. I know I fell down on my bike, and I still have, even when I knew how to ride a bike, because I was trying something new, or maybe I was trying to jump my bike or whatever it was. I guess what I'm trying to echo here with some story is that it's be kind with yourself as you try these new choices. We've talked about a lot of things about choice today, and that you have choice, and that's what life's about, is choice. And then to be okay with trying something, even if it doesn't work out the first time you choose it.
Yeah, exactly. And I love what you said about kindness. I work with a lot of people who are kind of self-incriminating themselves, and, letting all that go, knowing you're doing the best that you can is so important. And some people are like, oh, I want to be more compassionate to others. I want to love others. Well, do it for yourself first, give yourself some acceptance, some compassion, know that you're doing the best that you can, and your best is more than good enough. And from there, you create a neutrality where then you can start to get better and express more and be more authentic. And when it comes to art or singing or music, it's like the people that really are channeling that acceptance, that authenticity, it lands with everybody, whether that's in art piece or a song or something. When they're just like, this is me and this is my expression, it lands with people. But when you're trying to prove yourself to other people, or make it for something else, or something like that, the people are not necessarily as aligned with that. It doesn't land as strong because there isn't that like unique expression of everybody's gift. And so, if you want something in the world, start giving it to yourself first, start receiving it, and then you can more easily express it.
It's so beautifully said. And I've heard even people say, give what you want to others too. Like, so it could be give it to yourself, give it to others, just start giving it and embracing it. I think is a beautiful place to be through all this, and a great place to come to the end of this podcast is that, I think we covered a lot of ground, like one, that we can choose to just pay attention more so that we can make better choices. And I guess better meaning for ourselves, and, making choices, like you said, Tyler, for our own well-being, which then allows us to give more. And, it's interesting, the word selfish, a lot of people hit on that and make people feel uncomfortable when they're giving to themselves. But the reality comes back to also what you brought up, Tyler, is that if we're not in our full power, if we don't have a full cup of water, how can we give water to anyone else? And so I think, reversing that thinking and giving to yourself, and just like you said, giving that love to yourself will allow you to give more love to others, and whatever your craft is in the world. So I think it's so beautiful where we've come. And if anybody just takes one of the ideas here just to try it, whether it's, taking some breath in the morning, or finding something that you like to do with moving your body, some other way to give yourself some space to pay more attention, to have more awareness, and to then, decide your choices and just keep making choices. I think that's it. And I know that you do a lot of work, and like how do if people want to follow you more, what's the best way for them to follow you, Tyler?
Definitely. Before I get to that, there's one beautiful thing that I just want to reflect on. And you're talking about, you know, giving, receiving, like these feelings of being selfish, right? And so it's like, if your heart is about adding more well-being to the world, yourself included, and to others, in a place where you want to be of joyful service, whether it's your business or your art or craft, you know, you're doing it. It's like you're radiating your creational authoring for your life, you know? And so when you're spreading well-being, that includes it for yourself. The selfish part comes in when someone receives something you want. If you're being jealous, judging it, trying to take it from them, that's the selfish part. Instead, if you can be inspired to know that's possible for me to create in my own life, then that's adding to the pot of well-being. So by supporting everybody exactly where they're at and what they want, you're then bringing that love, that good feeling in yourself to create more of what you want. So that's a really beautiful thing to just anchor here, is we're all wanting to be of joyful service, adding to the pot of well-being, which includes ourselves.
Yes. That's so beautiful, Tyler. I'm so glad. And what a poetic way to wrap up this episode. And I know you told me before we started this that you have your Plato's Academy coming up, I think starting in April, and there are ways people can follow you if they want to hear more of your wise words. So maybe just share that briefly and before we wrap up. Yeah,
for sure. So I run a handful of small businesses that I really love. One is called Plato's Academy. And really it's all about activating your choice and ability to author your life. And it really focuses on your personal development, your professional development, and your creative development. And so it's a 6-month program, live mentoring, group and one-on-one. There's 3 facilitators with a variety of different backgrounds and skills that are all amazing, including myself. And we really help you resolve some of the blocks and traumas and patterns that may be stopping you, and then give you a lot of tangible business skills to then bring in more revenue and create more value. And then add a little bit of, you know, creative expression on there. So Plato's Academy, theplatosacademy.com. And then we're on Instagram. I think it's at the Plato's Academy. And those are 2 great ways to find us. And starting another cohort April 18th, going to be really fun. We curate the group based on skill set. So they're highly curated small groups, and we're giving a $500 discount to the more life, more business audience. So excited about that. And then I also do one-on-one counseling changework sessions with people, really powerful, creating actual change in people's life. And then I also run a nonprofit called Institute for Human Creativity, which is focused on, you know, improving social and environmental betterment through art and creativity. So we do a lot of art projects, and my wife and I both make art. So we have our own personal practice with art, which is such a life-enhancing thing to do. Highly recommend anybody who wants to express themselves, start doing it today. Start doing it now. And then also, you know, always looking to support the environment and indigenous people and things of that nature. So that's kind of incorporated into a lot of the revenue we get. We try to, you know, spread it around to add to the pot of well-being.
So beautiful, brother. And you're doing so many things, and it's an abundance of things. And then you're always so calm and tranquil through the whole thing and this is just evidence to this experience that you're living your life and you're able to give in such abundant ways while taking care of your well-being. So it's like just, you know, basically showing how it's done. So it's so beautiful. And those things we'll put in the show notes. So just, we can put those links so that folks can come check it out. And thank you so much for, sharing and giving an opportunity for a discount for our audience. And I have to laugh and have to point it out. It's so funny. You said more life, more business. When we do more business, more life, it's, but it's again, evidence to you because you put that more life first. And that's what we ultimately want. I think even when we chose, just to be really transparent, the more business does attract some of those business people and some of the people that say, oh yeah, right, maybe we'll have the more life, but they're both important. They're equal to me. Like you have the life, but it is choosing your life and then the abundance will come. I do believe that, like whatever, you will have the resources to do what good work you're meant to do on this planet, if you just choose that. So it's, we could go longer and we're out of time, and I just have to honor the time that we had today has been so valuable, so beautiful, just an expression of again choice. And I think our themes were to choose, to be aware, make more choices from that awareness, and really focus on your own well-being, where then that will give you more power in your life. So it has been a pleasure. We'll put all the notes with the show here. So if you get out there and follow Tyler, and again, thank you so much for being on the show, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you so much. And really, you're just such a incredible expression of a man. And I feel grateful to know you. And it's been really fun to talk with you, as always.
It's my pleasure. And for those of you, if you like this conversation out there, please subscribe wherever you're listening to this. If we're going to have more content coming this way, and we love to engage with you. Let us know what was valuable, what questions you have. We want to be there for you, myself and my team. Until our next episode and beyond, remember to choose gratitude and create your freedom. We'll talk to you again next time. Thanks for listening to the More Business, More Life podcast. I hope you got value. And if you did, we have so many more things for you at stevenapolitan.com. You'll be able to connect with us on social media. We are active. You can ask us questions. And then on top of that, I want to give you a really big gift. And it truly is. We want to give so much value. We have an offering. It's a program called Clear Path to Customers. It's the same way that we attract wow clients and only working with the right people, the people we want to. And it's transformed my business into millions more in revenue with the right people and my clients. And we're doing it absolutely free. So you can go to stevenapolitan.com and grab that. You just got to put in your information. We'll send it to you promptly. And that again is on stevenapolitan.com. I look forward to having you on the next show. Until then, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.